Today, in the next 30 minutes, we'll dive into the different approaches that our panelists take in the first 100 days of their role, the challenges that they face, and how they prioritize their roadmaps. We'll explore. We'll explore. I'm a bit stressed. Sorry. This is the first time I do that. So apologies. So we'll explore how cybersecurity. I'll take my notes because. We'll explore how cybersecurity they lead the way in both large and small organizations, and will provide actionable insights for new and inspiring CISOs. But before we start, let me just introduce the three gentlemen next to me. So we've got Marcus Claxton, who is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Services Advisory Services Manager at the Association of Independent Schools of New South Wales. We've got Nicolas Brahim, who is leading our Cyber Resilience Program at Sekuro. And we got James Ng, who is CISO at Insignia Financial. Thank you for being here. Okay. So why the first 100 days? So they set the tone for the leader's tenure to establish the foundation for future success by establishing trust and credibility, build key relationship, assess the current state to then set the strategic direction. So with this being said, let's start by asking you what are the challenges that you faced in your first 100 days and what's influenced your approach. Maybe James, do you want to start?
Sure, no worries, and really appreciate the opportunity to come share some thoughts with the panel members as well and hear some insights equally as well. And I'm glad that we all got the memo around wearing tan or cream chino pants. And secondly, I mean, what a great sort of venue to be sitting in. These chairs are super comfortable as well. So just a big shout out and thanks for staying awake, hopefully, for the next 30 or so minutes whilst you sink into the chair. I'm coming up to roughly just under a year, or coming up to a year of being in the role at Insignia Financial. So I joined, and one of the key challenges since I started was very much forming the team. There wasn't a established or centralised security function. That was part of the mandate. So I actually spent a lot of time, probably the first 6 weeks or so, actually just meeting as many people as I could, whether that was people in the team, our key stakeholders, board down, including the executive. We operate in a highly regulated environment across APRA, ASIC, etc. So dealing with a lot of the regulatory stakeholders as well, and it's really just listening in to understand some of the context and why things are the way that they are. I went around and created not 100 days, but I think I classed it as a 90-day plan. But because I started in October, I think I quickly forgot that December and January are dead months. So I set out this ambitious plan around what I wanted to do in my first 90 days, and then I had to go back to the boss and said, yeah, I'm probably only really 30 days in on a 90-day plan if you consider the Christmas and New Year break. A lot of those things are really just about taking a stock take, getting an understanding of current state, formulating a strategy and business plan. I think first week the cybersecurity strategy got approved that I started. And that was a multi-year strategy, and I had a lot of people ask me whether I'm comfortable sort of putting my name behind the strategy, and my response was there was a lot of work that went into that, a lot of groundwork, and the strategy really sets out the vision around where we want to go, and that seemed very logical. We want to protect members, we want to secure our data, etc. The work that I had to do with the team was really to establish the how, and that's really the program that sits underneath the strategy that defines our key initiatives. So that was part of the 90 days as well, around what makes up those initiatives, what are the outputs that we have to work with, what's the foundation that's set up, and yeah, as I said, just reinforcing, spending time with as many people as you can across the organisation.
Thank you, James. What about you, Marcus, when it comes to having this to do this within schools?
Yeah, so look, I'm not going to focus on the current role I'm in. I've been in this role for about a year, newly created, responding to the the need for cybersecurity in independent schools. My previous role, I was Director of IT at Hills Grammar School, and I've worked in corporate roles as well as education technology, and there couldn't be more chalk and cheese. But one of the things that I walked into a school that had the IT team had a really bad name and reputation. They were, known as the no team, and I'm sure you've all worked with IT teams like that. And so they really worked like they supported the technology, and they made sure the technology worked, but they completely ignored the people. And so I had this really clear vision that I really felt that, we support the people in the use of technology, not the technology itself. So I had this clear vision, and I wanted to set that really well up front. I am a great believer in a principle or a mantra, and it is start as you wish to continue. My wife and I, when we had kids about 20 years ago or so, we implemented that with our children because we thought these are people that are going to be eating with us and they're going to be doing things with us for the next however long. So we want them to eat the food that we like. We want them to, enjoy the things that we do. And so we put in front of them Thai food and yum cha and all of the various things right from an early age. And now that they're all adults, they love eating all the same food that we do. And so I use that same principle in that IT team. I started to set clear expectations and clear an idea of behaviours that I really expected from the team. From there, like James said, I went about just meeting people amongst the school, especially the heads of faculty, because they're very key in a school. They're the ones who really have, they're at the coalface and they know what's working, what's not. So I wanted to not just hear about the technology in the school, but I wanted to get to know them as people as well, the human side of it. How they like to be communicated with. Were they someone who they wanted to know everything? If they asked for something, they wanted to be kept up to date, or were they the sort of person that they just wanted to know when it was done? They asked for it, yep, once it's done, away we go. And then moving on to the executive team and making sure that I had a really clear understanding of their expectations from my role and my team. And again, knowing what they expected from me from a reporting perspective. Then it was around looking at the capabilities. And it's interesting working in corporate or schools. Schools, you just guaranteed that you are going to be working in an environment where you don't have resources to do what you need to do. I presented to the board at the school at one point, and I used the Gartner methodology around sizing of IT teams. And we were managing about 1,100 student endpoints and about 250 staff and then some fixed desktops and so on. And I said to them, well, according to Gartner, this means we should have a service desk team that's around about 13 or 14 staff. I had one. And when I started there, I had myself, I had one help desk, one network engineer, one systems engineer. So 4 people managing 1,400 endpoints. And we were doing an all right job keeping things running, business as usual, but you try and start to throw strategic in there, and you try and start to throw innovation and experimentation, and it's a real challenge. And that's where the vendor partnerships came in. And so I'm looking around for vendors that I can partner with, not just people who are going to sell me services and systems and so on, but people I can really utilise in more of a way to help me get things done. And that began a journey with Sekuro, I think Sam way back then. And it was exactly what I was after. And also not just the vendor partnerships, but peer relationships. I think that's been said a few times today. There's a fantastic network called Mighty in education technology, and a whole range of collaborative. So, all the IT leads in schools, they're really, interested in sharing knowledge and helping each other out and so on. So leveraging those sorts of things. And so after I've gone through all of those human aspects of my team, I then started looking at the technology and making sure, I'm assuming that everything's running well. So then I need to make sure that all the foundational things are working, backups, patching, all of those. And then I asked the question, has there ever been an ethical hack done on the school? No. And it's interesting, we ran a grant scheme last year, AIS, for schools, and 80% of the schools that applied had never done any kind of ethical hack. and it's pretty scary. It took me 3 years from the time that they said, yes, you can do that ethical hack, to actually get them to commit the money for it. And that, again, was largely to do with the partnership with Sekuro.
Do you want Nico to add on that?
Yeah, just to add that, of course, for the first 100 days, the obvious answer is understanding where you are on the picking the top 3 or 5 priorities. But echoing what James and Marcus said, it's trying to position the security team as not the team as it's saying no. It's the team that is helping them to across what they're doing day to day. That's why it's important, as both you mentioned. When setting up the security team and setting up the security strategy, it's forming good relationships across the whole departments. As everyone in the previous talk mentioned, that the human, it's important as well, and HR, finance, everyone needs to understand that we are not there to make their life more difficult. We are there to help them to improve in their job and make their life and the way they work more secure. So that's what I think it's important. Forming good relationships and making sure that that you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you don't have the buy-in from the board and the budget, as you said, it just can be a good PDF that you have in your computer for 3 years.
So that's a very good point. So after we've built those relationships, when it comes to setting up the key initiatives and the top priorities, what are the 3 things that you focused on, and why? Maybe Marcus, you want to go first?
Sure. Look, schools particularly, and I think you may work in an organisation like this as well. Data governance is huge. My current role, I go into schools and do ICT reviews, and particularly with a cybersecurity focus, and data governance is just terrible. We had one school contact us, and they were in the middle of a hack by Lockbit, and they managed to get it before it went to the encryption side, but Lockbit did send them a email saying, give us some Bitcoin because we've got 200 gig of your data. And we said to them, well, what's in that data? They had absolutely no idea and no way of knowing, because it's so unstructured. There's no real, labeling, anything like that. So data governance is huge for schools at the moment. Getting boards and exec teams to agree to spend money on anything to do with cybersecurity. And part of that is convincing them that cybersecurity is an organisational risk. It's not an IT problem. And it's not really about getting value for the money as in improving teaching and learning. But if you can relate it to, well, if we get hacked, the teaching and learning stops, then, but getting those boards, because largely a lot of school boards don't have any technical experience on them. So getting that spend, and look, AI, artificial and emerging technologies, all of those sorts of things, and the propensity for schools to want to innovate and experiment, that's a real challenge, especially around shadow IT and trying to contain things while still fostering that innovative practices.
Yeah, and I guess I can tackle this one from 2 perspectives. One is the non-technical, is the things that we discussed around getting the buy-in from the board and trying to explain. And we've heard before in the great debate that cybersecurity it's the ROI about in cybersecurity, and I think that it's a difficult answer for us as cyber professionals to say, yeah, if you invest in cybersecurity, you're gonna have this return, because in my opinion, that's not possible. Maybe the ROI that the closest thing that you can put in the ROI, it's preventing losing money from a breach. But that's the thing, and helping them to understand that cybersecurity, it's something that needs to be a foundation across the whole organization. HR, when you onboard a new person, HR, training, awareness. When finance onboard a new system, the identity of that new system, if it's cloud, not cloud, patching. So it needs to be across, and working with the different teams to make them understand that we are there to work with them, not against them, because I understand. They have a password, easy password, they just get in, but when you add MFA, when they need to put the like the fingerprints, it's adding things to the process, but it's just to help the business to reach their objectives and not getting stuck in the middle.
So talking about objectives, what are the strategies that you use to align cybersecurity with the business objectives?
Given we've got another question coming, I was about to have a default answer going, it's great answering last, because I can just say whatever Marcus and Nicolas just said, repeat what they just said, but you just threw a curveball at me, Audrey. So just in terms of focus areas, how do we align it with the business and corporate strategy? So I was a little bit more fortunate when I joined the organisation. Insignia had made a public commitment that we would uplift security, and we'd actually announced to market we would spend an exorbitant amount of money as part of that uplift. So I came in with, writing a bit of the curtails there that we could actually have a commitment from the executive and the board around a security program. We did want to make sure that what we were delivering was aligned with the business and corporate strategy. So we have a cybersecurity strategy on a page that directly links between the business strategy. And we also wanted to make sure, just most recently, that any of the KPIs that we've set for our team are actually aligned with the business and enterprise-wide KPIs as well. So we have that cascaded through the organisation. We've got shared. And a good example might be, focus on OPEX and managing budgets. Well, that's something that we can play a role in as a security team. If it's got to do with delivering on strategic initiatives, security is one of those key focus areas. Again, we've got alignment with shared enterprise goals. And we also cascade that through. So, with our executive team, we report into the Chief Technology Officer. He's got his own KPIs. We want to make sure we're getting some of his KPIs flowing through as well. So that way we've got alignment. We've got clarity, we're all rowing in the same direction and focusing on the things that matter, not only to us from a security perspective, but also to the rest of the organisation. We're an amalgamation of 3 distinct businesses. So a number of us, and even myself, to be honest, didn't really know who Insignia Financial was before I got into the weeds of it. And we're a collection of, a series of acquisitions. So IWF, ANZ Wealth and NAB's Wealth Business, or MLC, combined. We've got roughly $300 billion of assets under management or administration, circa 5,000 odd staff as well. So we're quite large. We had a number of independent maturity assessments performed, not by Sekuro, just as a disclaimer, but from some other externals. And one thing I would say is there's no shortage of things to do that they uncover and find. And for us, the challenge is therefore prioritising what matters. And, a key aspect or input is considering not only the risk, but also how does that align with where the business is heading as well. I think we ended up landing on 49 initiatives over a 3-year period, aligned to 19 strategic streams of work. That's a lot of work. Often I say 2 things. One is that's not just delivered by the security team. It is a whole of organisation approach to that. So a lot of those 49 initiatives are actually delivered by other parts of the organisation. So we've got a data governance team that's delivering data initiatives. We've got infrastructure teams that are delivering on hardening, etc. And then the other factor that we really looked at is where we're going to get some operational efficiencies as well. And so key focus areas for us was looking at where we're going to get consolidation from those 3 different organisations, not only improve what the team have to do, reduce swivel chair between screens, but also where we're going to get some cost out and cost efficiencies by removing tool sets as well. And one of the other pain points that I've had throughout my whole career, actually, in all the various organisations I've worked in, is there's a temptation to go look at the next new shiny thing. And from my perspective, we don't necessarily get the full return on investment from the tools that we've already purchased. So a lot of our initiatives are focused on ensuring that we continue to roll out the existing investments that we've made. So, one of the environments might have a tool set. How do we roll that out to the other couple of environments as well? Making sure we stay the course so we get the full benefit realisation on that front.
Thank you, James. What about you, Marcus?
So I think a lot of what James said, similar things, but particularly around the alignment with key actions to strategy. Whenever I'd put forward a business case or any justification requiring some spend, I would always make sure I would outline exactly how that underpinned the strategic intent or the strategic actions that the school was trying to undertake, but also around looking at how the impact around risk would impact or could potentially impact either child protection or teaching and learning, or those really critical things that are involved in a school. And there were also some guiding principles that I would just always use, and the things taken from Zero Trust and taken from tech language, and I put them into some just reasonably non-tech language, and I would always refer back to those. So when we're looking at a new application, I'm just saying, and I can't remember exactly how I put least privilege, but it's around about we're making sure that we are taking a least privilege approach to that particular new thing or whatever it is. So just aligning not only to underlying strategy for the school, but also those security principles.
Thank you. Did you want to add anything, Nico?
No, just saying that what Marcus said about risk, that a lot of organizations that I work with, they tell me that when we ask them if their cybersecurity is included in their enterprise risk management, they say yes, but it's just risk cybersecurity. And that just gives the impression that it's just one magic solution when you have to get the mitigation options and the actions to mitigate that risk. But I guess that if we start putting cybersecurity risk into the enterprise risk that management frameworks where the board understand that, because it's been like years and years that they were talking that language, I think that's where we can see improvement. And also what Marcus said about translating technical issues into simple language, we help them to understand that that defense at the end is doable. As you said as well, there's no Chinese solution that will fix everything. It's if you don't have budget to implement the new latest tool, there are things that you can still do, like identity, good password policies. All systems have good password policies, unless you are in OT, but that's a different topic. MFA, multi-factor authentication, and making sure that your systems are patched. And then once you set up the foundations, you can focus on improving and maturing your existing controls.
Thank you. We're getting towards the end now. So what do your success look like at the end of your 90 or 100 days? What does it look like?
I think if you get the buy from the board of directors, you were able to translate the technical risks into business risks. And you can focus on the at least top 5 priorities, because in your first 100 days, you're not going to be able to set up the whole 5-year strategy, the whole budget, the approvals and everything. It's just, okay, with what I have, what can I do now? And that's based on risk prioritization. Yeah.
The plan for the plan. I think that's something that's realistic, I think, in the first 90 to 100 days. I think there's a temptation. Anyone who starts in a new role, you want to put your best foot forward. You want to set a good first set of impressions. And I think the advice I would have is just, as we said at the start, take the time to actually understand the environment, understand the organisation, understand the people. As I said, that you want to make a difference and you want to make change, and often you can lead you into making a knee-jerk reaction or to take a set of steps preemptively may not be in the best interest of the organisation or the strategy. So it's just take the time and make sure you got the support. Like I think the first thing that I did in that first week with the executive and the boards was just say, yes, we're approving the strategy, but by the way, the threat landscape doesn't stay static. The business strategy doesn't stay static. So what you're endorsing and supporting has got a little asterisk saying T's and C's apply, which means we're not going to come at any point in time and bring them on the journey when we need to make changes, but get them warmed up to the idea that there will be changes and to be flexible around that as we go to communicate through the rest of the organisation.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is success after just 90 days, because that's a pretty short period of time, is if you have been able to develop trust with all the relevant stakeholders, then I think you've got 99% of the way. Because if you have become that trusted advisor in that short space of time, then it's really going to set you up for some incredible success over the coming however long you're there. And I think you do start to set things up, and once you start to then see improvements over time, improvements with pen tests or red teaming, finding fewer and fewer holes over years, then that just adds to that trust. But yeah, if you've got that after that 90 days, then you're on a good path.
Just one last question, because it's for inspiring CISOs. Would you have any advice for any new inspiring CISOs in the room?
Get some sleep. Look, I would say, any technical career is amazing, and when you are involved in any sort of technical support, whatever it is, whether it's cybersecurity or whether it's just keeping the lights on and so on, there is pressure, but there is great reward as well. There's a lot of, interesting things that you come across. You've basically just got to be prepared to do the hard yards, and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I guess that from experience, it's the understanding that you can't solve everything by your own. You need to partner not only what we discussed with the board and the rest of the team in the organization. It's also with external partners. As Marco said, it seems that I'm selling something, but I'm not. It's that understanding that the cybersecurity skills, it's difficult to attract that skill, and there's a lot of rotation. And once it seems that you are building the cybersecurity program, you get a member of your team saying, yeah, I'm moving away, I got a better job, I got better money, and you have to start all over again, train new people. So it's understanding that there's a lot of change, there are going to be a lot of roadblocks, but just one step at a time, I guess.
Yeah, I think someone once, I remember hearing from a presentation that someone said that CISO or CISO stands for career is seriously over. So I think you have some wise words if you're coming into the role. No, I think in all jest, security or cybersecurity, information security, etc., is one of those unique areas where it's not a point of competition; it's a point of collaboration. And for those that go into, and it's not just a CISO role; it could be a leadership role or a lead role in a security function. Sometimes it can become quite lonely being in that role. One thing I remind people is just to steadfast, be optimistic, bring a positive mindset. But remember, you've got not just your team, your colleagues, your peers around you, but there's a whole community around you that's really supporting you. And I don't think I've ever had an issue reaching out to people, whether it's in this room or beyond, to ask for help or support, get some advice, etc. So especially for smaller organisations where often it is sort of the Atlas model of security with the world on your shoulders, etc., is make sure you tap into the community because it's a vibrant one, it's a growing one, and it's a welcoming one as well. So I think that's a testament to the space that we work in.
Well, thank you all. Now opening it to the audience. Have you got any question for our panelists today?
I have a question for Marcus, but potentially for everyone. Marcus, you mentioned that it had taken some time to get agreement with an ethical hack. Did you manage to get that ethical hack conducted? And if you did it change the discussion around the return on investment for cyber security measures?
100%, yeah. So it's funny because I got the agreement straight away, so in the first 6 months, and then, so schools work on calendar year budgets, and so we moved into the next calendar year, and then a few things changed, and they went, oh no, we need that money for this, which is typical in working with schools, and they said, we'll do it next year, and I'm like, oh, all right, okay, fine. So next year came about, and same thing happened, and then I think we hit COVID. And then I was talking with Sekuro about the cyber optimization program, and that actually was going to cost our school a whole lot more than just the pen test, but I managed to get that across the line and it was because of all of what was happening in the news as well. And so we did that, and then showing them the results of that first one was a bit of an eye-opener for them, because I said, look, there are things, and I kept saying right from the start, I said, there are things about this environment that the people who have been working here in the IT team, they don't know, and I don't know, and I can't know unless I get someone independent to come in. And anyway, so that first one was an eye-opener for them. We then worked heavily to remediate, and then we had the next one. They could see the benefits because there were reduced vulnerabilities. And then the third one we have, I think there was only one medium and 2 or 3 lows or something like that. And I was like, yes. But yeah, with that kind of progression, the board, the executive, they were like, yep, we just, and now I'm still in touch with my predecessor, or the guy who took over from me, and they are just throwing money at cyber now. So, I just claim that I set him up well.
Do you have any more questions? No, I think that's us for the day then. Thank you.